Was this idea of doing a pause, did that just come about this morning? Can you tell us exactly what came into consideration for you and your advisors?
For a period of time, I wouldn't say this morning. Over the last few days, I've been thinking about it. I've been dealing with Scott, with Howard, with some other people that are very professional. And I think it probably came together early this morning, fairly early this morning. Just wrote it up. We didn't have the use of, we didn't have access to lawyers, or we just wrote it up from our hearts, right? It was written from the heart. And I think it was well written too, but it was written from the heart. It was written as something that I think was very positive for the world and for us. And we don't want to hurt countries that don't need to be hurt. And they all want to negotiate. The only problem is, you can only do so many at one time. It's like, we want to do it right. We want to get it right. We want to take care of them, but we have to take care of our country. So, but this was something certainly we've been talking about for a period of time, and we decided to pull the trigger. And we did it today, and we're happy about it. I didn't know it would have that kind of an impact, but it's, I think we have the biggest increase in the history of the stock market. That's pretty good. You're almost, if you keep going, you're going to be back to where it was 4 weeks ago. But it was a sick market 4 weeks ago, because the trade was sick. It was only a question of time. I don't blame the tariffs. I think the tariffs just sort of magnified what was happening. China, look, they're very capable, and I don't blame China for what happened. I blame the people sitting right at this desk, right behind this desk, or another desk. You get your choice of 7. I happen to pick the Resolute. But I blame the people sitting in this chair, behind this desk, for being stupid, incompetent, or not having courage. This should have been done years ago.
Some economists are saying that right now is technically an embargo on China with 125% tariffs. Are you concerned of escalation beyond the trade war with China?
No, I'm not concerned. I think President Xi is a very smart guy, and I think we'll end up making a very good deal for both. But, we've been treated so badly for so many years. Again, we allowed that to happen. We've been treated so badly for so many years. But no, I don't expect that. I think President Xi is one of the very smart people of the world, and I don't think he'd allow that to happen. And we're very powerful. This country is very powerful. Let me tell you, it's far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world that we have. More powerful than anybody, not even close. So nobody's going to do that, but I think that if that's what you're referring to, maybe it's not. But just in terms of basic escalation, which is what you said, no, I think that President Xi is a man who knows exactly what has to be done. He's a very smart man. He loves his country. I know that for a fact. I know him very well. And I think he's going to want to get to a deal. I think that's going to happen. We'll get a phone call at some point, and it'll be off to the races. It'll be a great thing for them. It'll be a great thing for us. It's going to be a great thing for the world and for humanity. I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know. They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. Yeah, it's not a question of that. You have to have flexibility. I could say, here's a wall, and I'm going to go through that wall. I'm going to go through it no matter what. And keep going, and you can't go through the wall. Sometimes you have to be able to go under the wall, around the wall, or over the wall. These guys know that better than anybody, right? You got to go around them sometimes. You're not going to go through them. So I consider, you know, I think in financial markets, because they change. Look how much it changed today. We went from, you know, pretty moderate today, but over the last few days it looked pretty glum, to, I guess they say it was the biggest day in financial history. That's a pretty big change. And I think the word would be flexible. You have to be flexible. Like he's asking the question about some companies. Some companies, through no fault of their own, they happen to be in an industry that is more affected by these things than others. You have to be able to show a little flexibility. And I'm able to do that.
They've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double standard?
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's, you know, it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think, it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be. There'll be nothing like it.
US President Donald Trump has announced a 90-day pause on some of his tariffs, leading to a surge on the American stock market today. The Dow up, the S&P up at 9% at one stage. But the US is escalating its trade war with China by upping tariffs to 125%. As Richard Quest said a moment ago, does China now increase even further? Well, our Washington correspondent, Analyst Nielsen, she's been watching over things this morning and all of these developments. Hello again, Analyst. So what does this mean for Australia?
Look, almost certainly nothing for now, but what this does do is change the metrics in that it shows that they can change course, they can respond when something happens, like the US stock market taking such a hit. Of course, they care about how it plays out domestically. That's what really moves the dial. But what we have also seen is the Trump administration officials saying that part of the strategy is to put them in the dominant position so that when they start negotiating with countries, that they're the ones on top, and it's the the opposites for anyone who's at the negotiating table. If you try and reciprocate it all, guess what? You've got more pain coming. So it's quite bully behavior. But what this is showing is that they do want to make deals. And so there is a chance for Australia at some point to come make that deal. We have to keep the broader picture here in perspective. They've put a pause on these reciprocal tariffs. Of course, that's not quite a literal reciprocal tariffs because Australia has a surplus with the US has a surplus with Australia. We're being whacked with tariffs because they say we have made up trade barriers, which of course is a point of contention. But what they are sensitive to is the markets. Donald Trump said that he was watching bonds closely overnight. That seems to have moved the dial with him when he was speaking with Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick, his Treasury and Commerce secretaries, this morning. They're really successful businessmen in their own right. They're very astute at watching markets, and they would have been in his ear saying that something has to give. Counterpoint to Peter Navarro, who is an absolute zealot against any kind of international trade and only wants domestic trade and is so passionately pursuing these tariffs. So in all this shock and awe in the United States, in particular, everyone watching their savings retirements go down, Donald Trump says he did make this move to respond to that.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know, they were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done.
So Pete, we're still waiting for the exact wording of the executive order, but it doesn't look like this moves the dial for Australia today.
No, and Richard Miles said it as much a moment ago. Thank you, Analyst.